Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? On today's video, we had a little bump recently on Banshee, so I want to talk about it. Let's get into it.
Now get ready. Here we go.
If this is your first time here, make sure you like and subscribe. Do all those things downstairs. It does help me out. You guys have been here long enough. You know what to do. Alright, so over there in Kings Island, there's the Banshee roller coaster. It's been in the news a couple times recently for kicking somebody while they were down, and it didn't turn out well for that person. But this time it showed up in the media again for the other day on September the 29th. There was a bump. So here's a picture. So as you can see there on the top of the video, basically that is the bumper. The bumper of the train has impacted the other train and now it's hanging down. It's all cockeyed, crooked, and stupid looking down there.
No, he didn't slam you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you.
A person emailed me this, thank you very much, and they said, hey, what happened here? What's going on? What's happening? So I looked at it and I watched a couple videos and I found a video of the train coming back in so I could see on that particular ride. And let's look at that now. Pretty standard into a B&M roller coaster. I mean, it's nothing really special, nothing new. So one of the first things that everyone said in the media, like all the news headlines, all the captions, all that other stuff, were basically that it ran the brakes and then ran into the train in front of it. Those B&M brakes like that, those pinch brakes, are very strong, and it was said it was raining pretty good that day, so they were like, is weather a factor? Well, the pinch brakes themselves are really unaffected by weather. They really don't care whether it's pouring down rain or hot and sunny outside. As long as the pinch brake is adjusted right, it's fine. The ride also has magnetic brakes at the very entry to do the bulk of the braking. So you have magnetic brakes followed up with mechanical brakes. But then, just like most B&Ms, once you get past those service and safety brakes there, they go all the way down to the transfer. Now, the transfer does not have any brakes. So that's actually what the train slid through, was the transfer setup. I am familiar with this because I've had it happen to me before. What was happening is that we were out of booster wheels on the transfer table. We didn't have any more booster wheels and we were waiting for some to come in, and the tolerance was getting wide on those booster wheels. The booster wheels have to be a certain distance apart, because they're, let's say, I don't remember what the actual measurements are, but the train is 250 millimeters wide, and the gap between the booster wheels is 230 millimeters wide. It's narrower. That gives you 10 millimeters of crush on both sides that the wheels have to basically smush the train be through. As those wheels wear down, they have a turnbuckle in the center. You loosen the turnbuckle and adjust those so the wheels come back into tolerant. And you still maintain that, let's say, 230 millimeters. Now, what we've had happen before is we ran out of those wheels and we were waiting for some to come in, and we were waiting and waiting. And what happened is we got those turnbuckles all the way down and maxed out on their adjustment. They could not go any tighter. So like we literally took the turnbuckles apart and removed the nuts on the outside of them to get like an extra 10 millimeters of crush out of them, waiting for the new wheels to show up. During that time, the adjustment, that 230 millimeters, was starting to widen. It was 235, 240, and then once you get past about 240, 245, it's no good. So what you lose is the effectiveness to pinch the train and push it forward. So you'll notice two things. One is when everything is running just fine, they dispatch the train to go forward, and instead of getting that nice little jerk back in your seat as the train goes forward, it's kind of a very slow, you might actually hear the wheels above or below starting to slip on the side of the train as it's trying to pick up the train and move it forward. So in the rain, this is amplified. So it comes into that transfer table, and those drive tires run at full speed forward. And then once it gets to a certain point on the transfer table, the ride says, okay, go to slow speed, crawl. And it slows it down, and then as it comes up on that table, it brings it down, 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 and then it stops it right behind the other train. When those booster wheels are all worn out and opened up too far, which can happen, the train comes in and it goes to that slow speed, but instead of that slow speed catching the train and slowing it right back down, the train drifts through those tires. And depending on your weather conditions, like if it's wet, rubber tires against steel sometimes don't have the best grip, and it can drift much further. And in this case, what happened is the train drifted through those wheels even further than it was supposed to and collided with the train in front of it. It probably collided, judging by that picture, you could see that top bumper was hung down pretty good. It probably collided at just below a walking speed. So if you imagine just a nice, not slow, but just like a very casual walk, and then you suddenly run into a wall. It impacted at that speed. Now you say, well, that bumper bent way down. It's like, true, those bumpers are designed to do that exact same thing. They're designed to absorb that impact between the two trains before it gets to anything like the people. Now, this ride was loaded. There was people on it. I've read some things on, I think Reddit had a couple things on there and some stuff like that. Everyone said that was just a minor impact, just a thud into it. And they evacuated them right on the spot, and they got an exit line pass out of it. It's like, okay, yeah, there wasn't really much to happen. The people in the front row were the most in danger, just because those were where the two vehicles were going to collide. And they were really in danger from just their feet impacting the metal in front of them, not like crushed catastrophically. I'm just talking about when it stopped, that their feet kicked forward, they probably could have hit the metal seat that was on the back of the train in front of them. So that was really the danger they were in right there. Because it wasn't going super fast. The ride was trying to slow and stop the train down, but in this case, I don't think the booster wheels had a good grip on them. So it was allowed to just drift through and impact the back of the train, bent that rear bumper down on the other train. It probably bent the rear bumper up. Service bulletin very long time ago came out about making sure that there's basically big long lag screws into those big rubber bumpers on top. I'll show you here. Here's the picture. There's the rubber bumper on top right there. So they had some big screws penetrating the back of them, so those bumpers in an event like this, they didn't just fall off and fall down and then allow metal-to-metal contact, because those bumpers actually did a lot of saving. Okay, so what's the next step from here? Both the front bumper on that train and the rear bumper on the other train had to come off. They both had to be replaced. So there's not much you can do to salvage that. They're basically giant foam rubber blocks that sit above there. So both bumpers had to be replaced with new ones. And then on that rear train, that metal assembly, which is like a giant shock absorber, that metal assembly had to be replaced with a new one or straightened out. Kind of doubt they're able to straighten that one. But so their solution was to take those two trains off and then bring on the third train. So they had a third train sitting in the work bay, so they took those two off, brought on a third one, went down to one train operation. Gonna happen anyway. So for those two trains that are out there, the rear bumper, the front bumper has to be replaced, and there's probably some NDT that needs to happen. I know I would call out an NDT company and have them look at the frames and the chassis just on the front coach and the rear coach, make sure they were okay. I want to have them look at the wheel carriers, the pins, everything else. And if they see signs of things that moved, or if I got something like guide wheels or road wheels that suddenly had like a flat spot in them where the wheel looked like the train had moved suddenly and the wheel absorbed some of that impact, then I'm going to tear into the train even further, and I'm going to take apart pivot pins and wheel carrier pins, road wheel axles, and all that other stuff, and actually get into full NDT, whether it be mag particle, dye penetrant, X-ray, whatever I feel is necessary to make sure that I can ensure that those two vehicles are safe before they're opened back up again. Now, this was just a really quick video. I saw this happen, and I'm like, someone asked me to make a video on it, so I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Again, I've had experience. I haven't actually bumped trains before like that, but I have come very close, within like 3 millimeters of the two doing that, and that was that exact scenario. Those wheels were wearing out, and one slid right through until it almost caught the train in front of it, but it didn't actually catch. So the repairs should be pretty easy. It's just some replacing of parts, some NDT stuff. Honestly, one train should come right back up and running, because what I would do after the NDT company was done with the front of that other train that doesn't have, well, what I could see, it doesn't have the mangled bumper on top of it. I would take the front bumper off the train with the bad bumper and rob Peter to pay Paul, essentially. So I'm going to take the good front bumper off the other train, and I'm going to put it on the front of that train that was impacted. The fiberglass cowling was messed up on the front of that, and it looks like it sheared a bolt. It looked like a little 8mm bolt sitting on the floor that someone took a picture of. That's typically the size hardware that B&M uses to hold that fiberglass to the frame itself. So I would say probably that pan comes off, and I would replace that with the one off the other coach. Just take the front bumper and that front cowling off that other train, put them on that one, assuming that has a clean bill of health from the NDT company, and then that one can go right back on the track and go up and running when the track and structure is ready for it to run. Because if they have a booster wheel issue, if they're waiting for wheels, if they're waiting for parts, then this is definitely one of those scenarios. Well, you can't bring it back up to 2-train operation until you fix that, because now you're going to have a train slide through again, possibly a second time. So I wouldn't put that ride back on 2-train operation until they get the boosters, whatever was going on there, fixed. Which is, it could be something just as simple as the resident mechanic has been away for a while, and someone taking over it wasn't paying that much attention to those booster wheel gaps, or they got the dimension wrong. I've had a mechanic do that before, because there's two dimensions there's one dimension for the brake, one dimension for the booster wheels. The mechanic that was taking care of it, he was new to it, went out there and thought he had everything, and he adjusted a set of booster wheels to the wrong dimension. He adjusted it to the brake dimension, not the booster dimension, and those wheels weren't even grabbing. So the rest of the wheels in there worked fine, but we got a call from operations that it seems like the rear set or something like that was just spinning. We got out there and it's like, oh yeah, they were just spinning. The fronts were working just fine. The rears weren't, and we found out that they were adjusted too wide. So stuff like that, it can always happen. Mechanics can make mistakes just like everybody else, but because of how far it went forward and the rain having impact on that because of the lowered reduction of surface tension, I would definitely say that this is probably a wear feature. The wheels were just worn out and the gap was too wide and it drifted through there. Quick video today. I know some of you are liking this, some of you aren't. Apologize for it, but it's kind of is what it is, right? Okay, I think that's going to do it. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff downstairs. If you want to email me, my email is ryantheridermechanic@yahoo.com. If you just want to leave a comment, go ahead and do that. And let's see. I'll see you on the next video. Yeah. Stay off the air gates.